All right, Twitch chat, you've been with me for a minute here. YouTube, you ready? Guys, I'm actually super excited to have this guest on and do the account review for today. So guys, say hi to YouTube. And let's introduce Rikazo. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
How you doing today, my man? Thank you for joining us. I'm super excited. How's everything been?
Yeah, it's been good. It's been good. Doing a lot of hunts, wasting a lot of leaves and skystones. How are you doing?
I'm good. How's this volume, guys? Is it okay? Raise it a little bit. Let me know. Volume check. The guns god. Yeah, Rikazo, I remember that. We were talking that one time late at night.
Oh yeah.
The guns god.
Yeah.
All right, his volume's good. Rikazo, before we start, let us know. Yeah, give us a little bit of background. How long you been playing E7? Favorite units, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty, more specific stuff after, while we just chat and look at your roster here.
Sounds good. Yeah. So I've been playing since basically the first week of the game. I think got introduced by a friend and been playing ever since. Been in Veritas for most of my time playing, except like the first year, and I didn't get into RTA until a couple seasons ago. I didn't play the first 2 seasons. But,
really? Why was that? Because you've always been like a competitive Guild War player, right?
Yeah, so I guess I just focused on Guild War and didn't really, for some reason, I didn't care too much about RTA early on. But once I started getting into it, it became very fun to me and a lot more fun than Guild War. So it's been my focus ever since, I guess.
And you're a monster in RTA. Rikazo, where are we at right now? Let's take actually a quick look at the World Arena rankings. Rank 17 boys, 62.1% win rate. And since I'm always over there in his channel, guys, I'll tell you something. He doesn't always pick just... sometimes we mess around and pick some more fun units, right? Which one of them today, because I want to talk about, is Senya. Which, maybe after the buffs, though, she might be actually just meta?
I don't know if she's meta, but she's definitely strong in some drafts. She's not the type of unit you would pick every single draft, but she is strong against a lot of meta options, such as Rem, SSB, and even evasion units like Violet, because her just not critting is pretty good against evasion units. So she doesn't care about critting.
All right, well, when we get to her, we'll talk a little bit more. You ready to go down the list? And then afterwards, if you don't mind, you got to shout out your stuff from both my YouTube audience and my guys here. I think most of them here, though, I've met you. They're all really excited. All right, let's start with, we'll go down the list. We got a 21k CP Kowarik. Rikazo, what kind of player would you say you are? Aggressive, cleaver, standard?
I would say I'm pretty standard, but I tend to lean towards the aggressive side. I don't really have the speed gear to go like full cleave, but I tend to pick pretty aggressive options such as Kavrik, Kisei, Strays whenever I'm able to.
Nice. And what do you think about Kowarik right now?
I think it's pretty good. He's definitely a last pick option against certain slower players, such as when you want to Soulburn to reset a Maid, for example, and then have the follow-up damage the next turn with his self-attack buff S3. And he's not like pickable every game, but against slower plays especially, he's quite strong.
Nice. So you do pick him pretty often when he's applicable?
Yeah, definitely. I would say so.
Okay, let me just hover over the gear again real fast, guys. Average speed... Oh, wow, the neck actually has 3 speed. But you said you don't really need... Everything else was like 1920. Nice.
Fun fact about the neck, I've been trying to get 4 speed in that thing forever. I probably tossed like 10 greater gems into it, but I can't get 4 speed.
Oh, that's unfortunate, dude. Damn, that's a crazy neck though, guys. All right.
Yeah, the gear score is pretty high.
Let's go. Next up, we got Kisei, and I see a pen set. All right, so a lot faster than I think we've seen a lot of Kiseis. I would say the standard right now, I usually see like 240, 250, and then a little bit more attack. But with a pen set, I think, how have you been liking this build, Rikazo? You like the 268, almost 270.
Yeah, so I like that she's reliably able to outspeed most Emilias. There are some Emilias close to 270s, but generally she'll outspeed anything I pick her into. And I think on pen set, her damage on both S3 and S2, I mean S1 is very, very good.
Okay. Is the effectiveness, was that intended, or is that just kind of, it just rolled that way?
It kind of just rolled that way. However, the F actually comes in use sometimes against certain types of players. So sometimes there are... Yeah, not too worried. There will be players who pick units like Lifesteal Strasse behind stuff like Maid, which if they have Shimadros, they gain like 40 plus F-res, right?
Yeah,
and the F can actually come in clutch there to guarantee the resets.
True, and plus there's a lot of random F-res team imprints like Carmen if they ever swap their Landies, things like that, right?
Yeah, exactly. That too.
Not to worry about you. Okay. Next up, we got Straws. Okay, so fast, good damage. And we're on Portrait. Yeah, talk to us about the Straws.
He's basically just a last pick option when I know I'm outspeeding. He's not on the immunity, obviously, but I think his stats are pretty solid.
Yeah.
I pick him when I basically know I'm outspeeding a tank player and I just want Strauss to one-shot something at the start of the game. So his build works fine for the way I use him, basically.
Did you hear that, guys? So when he says no immunity, but he picks it when he's confident he's going first. And yeah, that stat line at 254 speed is very, very good. Yeah, chat's really liking this one. All right. Celine, because I want to hear your thoughts about Celine. She's one I get asked a lot about. Like, Car, is she good? Do I invest in her? I always tell for early players or newer players, hold off on her for now. But it seems like you actually gave her some pretty nice gear here, right?
Right, so I would probably agree with that she's not like a top tier pick. She's mostly a for fun unit. I don't think she's super great, but I have a lot of fun using her when I'm able to. So I kind of tossed all my leftover DPS gear on her for now that I'm not using on other units, and she ended up pretty nice. So I don't pick her very often, but whenever I'm able to, I will try and draft her.
What are you looking for when you're picking her? Because this build, it's not just the 0 speed, all attack, blink, or is that what it's called? Blink, the counterattack thing,
S2.
Right? Yeah, the S2.
Yeah.
When do you actually pick her?
So basically against things like non-attack skills such as Amelia or Maid, or against Cleave. If with this kind of speed, I am often able to get the blink on S2 and then cut ahead in S3, because with her new artifact buff, she gains CR when using non-attack skill.
Sword.
Yeah, okay. So she can sometimes cut ahead and land like S2 into S3, which is pretty powerful.
But overall, for a top legend player, she is kind of, when you pick her, it is sort of more for fun. She wouldn't be like, okay, so slight copium on it, but the new buffs on the artifact means like she's fun, but still viable, at least for you, right? Like,
yeah, she has won me a few games, but she's mostly a for fun unit. I wouldn't say she's a must-have by any means.
All right, and chat, take note of all these penetration sets. Let's count how much Rikazo. Let's see if he's been farming Katie's, because I think that's a hot topic lately. All right, Vivian. Is this? It looks like it's built for PvP, right?
Yeah. It is, yeah. I actually built it recently. It's also mostly leftover gear, but it's still pretty solid, I would say.
Okay.
I built her to pick mostly against players who are picking a Tywin right now, because there's a lot of a Tywins going around. Mm-hmm. And I remember a couple seasons ago, she was a pretty popular option against a Tywin. So I kind of decided to bring her back just as a pocket pick against a Tywins, and it's been working pretty well.
And this is the stat line you're looking for, about 240 speed. We even have a little bit of defense, and then we get a lot of survivability, right, from the Dignus Orb.
Yeah, so I wanted her to have some bulk so she can live a few things here and there, while her damage remains pretty solid. Could be a bit higher, but I think overall she's pretty solid.
Yeah, and guys, if I remember right, this is the old Rikazo. You were playing in that was it season 3 or something? Yeah, Vivian was a powerhouse, and also very good when Tywin came out. True.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, Fire Mirror. I know you've been using this one.
I have quite a bit.
Talk to us about the Fire Mirror while I show them the gear.
Sure. I think I was one of the first players to start using her and testing her out. I think she's very strong right now against a lot of the meta units, such as Landy and Stene especially. Mm-hmm. If you get the proc while you have attack buff, you kind of just wipe their whole team if you S3 into S2 double proc. And the thing is, her counter procs even on attacks that can't be countered, such as Stene's S1, Landy S3, since it's the condition is just taking damage, similar to something like an Elena taking AoE damage.
Yeah, so, that's huge.
Yeah, so she's pretty powerful just for like a massive amount of AoE damage. And she also has some bulk from her artifact and self-revive while providing attack buff to allies. So I think she's a very strong DPS option in the current meta. Okay,
and this build that you have rocking right now, is this one you just like so far? Is there anything you would change about it?
Well, I would change the 99% crit rate, but I kind of can't right now, so it's kind of copium. But actually, other than that, I'm pretty happy.
Rikazo, let's talk about that real fast. Are you one that you try your best to get 100 crit? Because a lot of players are fine with 99 crit chance. It means you're not overcapping unless you could magically somehow like get another piece that has like one more crit, right? But the same subs.
Right.
How do you feel about that? Do you really try to go for 100?
I actually don't care too much about 100. However, on AoE units like Mercedes especially, since they use so many AoE skills, I prefer having 100, since having 99 on a unit means a higher chance of failure of not critting somebody.
Of course, yeah. That's an interesting way to look at it though, because a lot of players I think would justify the opposite. The more you AoE, right, we're gonna hit so many times. It's okay if our crit's a little low, but yeah, that makes sense. I guess for you, a high damage unit Mercedes, he wants to get that 100 crit. All right, he says the build looks good though. I think it looks great too. Chat, y'all agree? All right, Stene.
Right, so my Stene, I don't actually think this current build is very good. I would change it if I could. I used to use this early into the season with Emilia just to play very aggressively, usually to push up Stene, Soulburn, and maybe kill something that's a little bit squishy. However, in the current meta, I think there's too much AoE damage for this build to really be viable, especially from Mercedes and now Belian, etc.
Right.
So I think she is stronger on a lifesteal set currently. However, I don't end up drafting her too much recently, so I haven't really bothered changing her gear too much. And I also gave most of my lifesteal gear to Charlotte and Violet, both of whom I built very recently. So I think this build, it works sort of for what I pick her into for now.
Yeah, okay. So recap real fast, because I think a lot of players will start on speed set when they get it from the ML5 connection. You're saying it works good, but there's a lot of AoE right now, so you say, in this meta at least, lifesteal is probably preferable. But if you play aggressive, this can still work, correct?
Yeah, I would say that. This one has very high damage, higher than basically all lifesteal builds, but
of course,
I think lifesteal is more viable.
All right. Landy. Everyone's got a Landy recently, guys. Ooh, we got an 88 Abyss Neck. Let's look at the stat line. All right, Rikazo, high speed, 224 speed on this Landy.
Yeah, so overall her gear score is very high, but I think her bulk could be a bit higher, maybe sacrificing some speed. These are kind of just the stats I ended up with my current gear.
Damn, look how that
she works pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and she's pretty good overall, I would say. I could just maybe get a bit more bulk, a bit less speed. But
is the speed point? That's because you play, like you mentioned a few times, a little more aggressive? You like that 224?
Yeah, I think being able to go ahead of a lot of 200 speed units is pretty valuable. But I think I could drop her speed at least slightly and get some more bulk.
More bulk. Okay.
But this one works fine for. I don't draft her too much currently, but I think she's kind of fine like this for now.
What's the gear score? You mentioned she's pretty high. Do you know it off the top of your head?
I forgot. It was like almost 440, 430 something.
Okay.
So
Bryce Area.
Yeah, so I don't draft this unit at all right now. So she has some very questionable leftover pieces.
Yeah, all right, we'll look at her real fast. We won't pay too much attention.
Yeah,
is that
I basically
personal
haven't
preference,
picked her forever.
or do you think she's just not good for your playstyle in this meta?
I don't think she's so good just because of Maid and Emilia. Both are the meta Soul Weavers, and they both like full cleanse the whole team. So and they're picked basically every match, right? So I think Braseria's pretty much fallen off for now.
That's the main thing we've heard. I think some players still manage to do well with her, but they invest the best gear, and for you, it's just with the counter units out, not worth it, right? At least for now.
Yeah, it doesn't really fit my style right now.
Got it. All right, Seaside Bologna. So not lifesteal build either, guys. A lot of speed sets, though. The trend lately, because everyone's shifting to like all banshee gaming, right?
She's just on Wyvern one-shot gear for now.
Oh, this is one shot. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll skip that.
But,
is there another
usually
SSB, or is this the only one?
No, I just swap my gear if I do draft her in RTA, but it's just like a bulky build, nothing special.
Come on, man, I do that too. Do you like the having two separate units? Do you do that at all for anything else?
No, because I'm a very low spender in E7, so I don't really have the resources to build multiple units right now.
Guys, we did another count review recently, and we saw, was it AC? They had like 4 different swapping units. It is for some, even for someone like Rikazo who has a lot of awesome gear. Just be careful of pulling multiple units. A lot of y'all are gonna try to pull multiple Landies. Rikazo, it's very tough, right, to maintain multiple units and have different builds. It's nice in theory, but for most players, I think it's out of reach.
Yeah, I don't have the Molas for that, because I don't buy Mola packs or anything, so it's too much investment for me.
Alright, so Lulica we're good on. Is this for PvE?
Yeah, PvE, exactly. KDs, etc.
We need to talk about this one, though. Politis. Where's she being used at, Rikazo?
So I picked this one in RTA. I would pick her mostly against Emilias currently, and sometimes against Cleve.
Emilias, interesting.
Yeah, so I think she's pretty strong against Emilia, because at this speed, she can usually cut the target that Emilia boosts up, and then I run her in Violin, so I can strip the attack buff plus immunity usually into S3, which can be pretty devastating against a lot of the units, especially
is it if we see Amelia at all, or is it also if like usually she's paired with like Landy?
I've been drafting her quite early until recently, but now I tend to pick Belian earlier because I think Belian is very strong right now.
All right, we'll definitely talk about her soon. But Polaris, you still think Rikazo amazing unit? You still play her a lot?
Yeah, still very strong in the right draft, especially against Cleve, and I would say she's better against Amelia than against Landy. I think she's very strong into Amelia.
And if we did want to stop, or if we did want to use her like against Amelia's, especially this speed point, right? You said is good for cutting.
Yeah, you can probably go a bit slower, but I think this guarantees you're gonna cut the target that she's boosting up.
Okay, and we got some bulk as well. We didn't neglect the bulk. All right.
Yeah.
Kayron, does he see any play? I see a 15 Wind Rider.
He's just in leftover gear.
Leftover gear.
Pick him into Cleve that has like no strip at all because it's usually a 4-span, right? So
okay.
It's very rare, but like 1 out of 100 games maybe. I can
but that's why you leave gear on him, because there is the Cleve, if it has no strip, we bring him out as a ban.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically.
Got it. Hufine, 27 Guild War artifact. Is this mostly a Fairytale Tenebria counter?
Mostly Fairytale Tenebria and sometimes Cerise or Bazaar.
I like the
I used to have her on slightly better gear, but I had to nerf her gear a bit because due to AOL, she has kind of fallen off the meta. She wasn't really fully meta, but AOL kind of shuts her down completely because she just ignores her evasion, right? She lands everything regardless. So she's pretty hard to draft currently, but she's still draftable in the situations that I do want to use her, mostly against F10E, Bazaar, or Cerise.
Well, it's sounding good, but guys, that's an important point. Yeah, Red's not happy to hear that. That's a very good point. Angelica kind of knocked her down a peg. She wasn't meta like Rikazo mentioned, but after her buffs and then the introduction to this artifact, she was actually seeing a lot of play, and now she's back to being tough to draft. All right.
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead, Rikazo. What were you saying about her?
No, I was just gonna say it's a bit unfortunate because she became pretty good after her buffs, and then AOL just shuts her down.
Exactly. All right. Ace. Oh my God. Rikazo, is this some of your best speed gear, or is there other surprises waiting for us?
Yeah, this is probably my fastest gear. I mean, I think my Carrick has my best speed gear. He's like a very high gear score on speed DPS.
Well, look
gear,
at the Carrick again. But Rikazo, not only is this fast, you still have all the attack, crit damage on point. Oh my God. I think, boys, is this the best Ace Cidd we've seen to date? I know, like, when we do a counter review, someone probably has gear lying around that they could make, if they shifted all their best gear onto him, could do something. But for him to have this on and ready and all his other gears, like Kawarik, still on point, I think this is legit the best Cidd, right, we've seen? Anyways, Rikazo, what do you, I know we're staying humble here, but yeah, talk to us about Ace Cidd.
Yeah, so the thing is, even though he's this fast, he's usually a 4-span in situations you do pick him, so you don't really need him to be this good. But sometimes he does get through, and at this speed, I can sometimes outspeed a cleaver with a speed imprint, right? Because they might be like 298 plus 10 speed or something, and then I'll still be faster.
No kidding.
I think the speed is pretty good. I can also get 100 crit if I just fix his helmet. It has like a mineral crit chance. Guys,
Rikazo says the speed's pretty good. Chad, you agree? I'd say it's insanely good, my man. Holy. But he's right. He says it gets banned a lot. Sometimes though, if they're confident on, listen, if they don't know Rikazo somehow, and they think they can leave him open and just speed imprint, he's saying he still wins sometimes at 312. Of course, crazy. All right. But yeah, Rikazo, real fast, as a last pick, we kind of saw this with Lunal. Guys, make sure y'all check out Lunal's account review. This one will be up soon on YouTube. But Lunal had one at like, it wasn't even this fast, but he also went full speed, Rikazo, and he only had like 190 or 180 crit damage. He said it still kills stuff, but it usually, he said he's not even worried. It's mostly just, it gets banned like you said, or if it does get through, it'll still kill some things.
Yeah, I actually watched this kind of review. It's pretty funny.
All right,
the
guys.
crit damage was a bit questionable, but I mean, it does still kill a squishy unit, so it works out, right?
Actually, Rikazo, last question on this whole speed or ban unit. How confident would you be? Let's say someone's not a streamer. What do you think about them just having like the most nerfed or like bad Ace Cidd? Just bad stats, but just do they flex him still and try to make sure? The opponent usually has to respect and ban it, right? How far do we go with that? Do we take it to, do you still would suggest them having some kind of speed on him? Or
I think so, yeah. Because if you're not a known player or a streamer, then they're not going to know how fast your Ace Cidd is. You kind of got to respect the Ace Cidd, right? You got to assume that it's faster than your fastest unit. So I think you can draft him even if it's not like above 300 speed. You can still pick him.
Okay. Try it, guys. Yeah, you don't need 312. Just he's probably gonna get banned out. All right. Oh, you have the A Ravi. Rikazo, before we talk about this, is there any units you're missing that you'd really want?
I'm missing quite a lot of units actually.
Okay, save that thought. We'll look at the journal right after the lineup, but let's look at this A Ravi. So recently buffed, everyone's crazy about her. How about you, Rikazo? I'm actually surprised to see Crimson Cidd. I thought you'd go for a more offensive artifact, knowing your playstyle a little bit.
Yeah, so I've been a fan of A Ravi ever since she came out, and I wanted to play her even before the buffs, but now she's very, very strong in this current meta. I have tried both Draco Plate and Azure Comet on her. I just kind of had a lot of games recently where I kind of get stun locked or provoke locked, so I can't S3 and finish a target off, and that's kind of why I swapped to Crimson Cidd for now. But okay. I do change the artifact quite frequently to test different options, but this is just my current build, I would say.
And what do you think about speed? I have a few people in chat talking about counter versus speed. We have the pen set, obviously, but are you a fan of the speed build and this just overall stat line?
So I'm a fan of speed, and I think my stat line for A Ravi is very good. Gear score is very high. The reason I like speed over counter is because a lot of the meta units, such as Landy and Stene, kind of ignore counter set anyway, right?
True.
And if she's too slow on counter, they can sort of just ignore her and save her for last. So I like the reliability of speed more. I think it works a lot better, especially for my playstyle, I would say.
I like that thought process. Not only, Rikazo, I would say to double down on it, not only are those two units, what do you say, ignore counters, they're also some of her hardest counters, right? So you probably will see them a lot when picking A Ravi, because they're going to, they might answer with that. Oh, sure. Shoot, I missed the lineup. Speaking of those two units, though, Rikazo, when do we draft her? If we see a Stene and Landy, do we still draft, or we kind of avoid picking her there?
Usually I will draft, well, now I draft Belian into Stene whenever I see her.
I can't wait to get
Belian and Mercedes. I think Mercedes is very strong into Stene Landy, so I tend to draft her.
Got it. All right.
So let's Charlotte.
Do you pick her pretty late in the draft usually then?
Usually. I have picked her early sometimes, but I'm kind of experimenting with my drafts a lot and testing what I can pick early and pick late, so I kind of shift around quite a lot.
Sounds good. All right, Rikazo, this is one of the, so I'm excited to see Belian, or how is it? Rikazo, is it pronounced Belian? Did they say that in the video?
I have no idea, to be honest.
Chat,
I say Belian.
Someone just correct us. How did the Korean speak? It doesn't matter to me either way, but I know I'm gonna get comments on that. Anyways, I'm excited to see Belian, but this one I'm actually more excited. When I was first tuning in to watch Rikazo streams, this is when I saw him rocking, and I love it. And now she got even better. He was using this, I was telling them before we started today, Rikazo, YouTube, he was using this Senya at top 20, top 10 legend, even before she got her new EE. So don't think he just swapped now because, you know, she got some major buffs through the exclusive equipment. He was using this already. So tell us all about her, Rikazo.
Yeah, so I've been using her since her banner came out because I got pretty lucky on her banner, and I was just a fan of her design because it's a lot of fun to me.
Yeah, me too, bro.
Yeah,
I like her design. Hell yeah, right?
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think my Senya is very strong overall in terms of gear, and I have a lot of fun drafting her. She's not always an amazing pick, but I think especially with her EE, she is actually very strong in a lot of situations right now.
Yeah, so let's talk about the EE. You opted for the skill 1. Did you test all of them, or is this the one you've just leaned towards right now?
So I've tested skill 1 and skill 3. Skill 2 I'm not too interested in, but I think both the self-heal and the gab has value, and I might shift between them a bit more. I haven't tried them out too much because of hunt buffs and stuff, so I haven't played too much RTA in the past few days, but I probably will test the gab a bit more and see what I feel.
I think they said the heal is what, 25% of her attack? Is that what it was, or 25% damage?
Yeah, 25% of her attack. So at my current attack without attack buff, it would be like a 1.6k heal.
Look at that,
with
boys.
Attack buff, it would be even higher. So.
And so, Rikazo, is this the stat line you've been liking? So we went mega heavy on the attack. The defense and health are still there, but I'll see some people shift maybe more bulk. But 6400 attack, she's gonna hit really hard. This is what you've been liking?
Yeah, I think I just value having very high attack because her thorns can hit super hard, especially her artifact. Since I have a plus 30, it also hits very hard with this kind of attack. So
we went hard
I think
on the
bulk
banner,
is fine. I did kind of, yeah. Well, I got pretty lucky in that banner. Oh, I just used everything I had saved up, and I got pretty lucky. So this is what I'm
plus 15. Okay. So last thing about her, when do we usually draft her? Outside of when you were kind of testing her, let's say in a draft where we're just playing normally, aiming to win, not testing. When would you bust her out?
So right now I always pick her into cleave, especially cleaves like Light's Cleave, for example. I tend to draft her with mitigation like Crow T Crowset, put her behind T Crowset, and she can
Ooh.
usually solo the team by herself if she lives long enough and
Wow.
doesn't get like crit by Watcher or something. But other than that, she's pretty good into a lot of the current meta DPS like Rem and Violet, for example, because against Rem, she kind of just kills herself on the thorn damage, and for Violet, she doesn't really care if she misses because she still does high damage, and if
Yeah.
Violet does counter and doesn't crit her, he also takes heavy damage, so pretty good into evasion units and blue units in general.
Guys, y'all hear that? I know a lot of people are having trouble with Rem and Violet because they're just so annoying to deal with, right? Because of all the counters, the dodges. Maybe start looking at Senya, especially now that she's got the E. All right, let's keep moving on. We got Crow. He actually has a lot of molas on him.
He does, yeah. I pick him quite frequently. Whenever FCC is pre-banned or picked,
Okay.
I pick Crow.
Yeah, because I think we talked about some other time. Anyways, in terms of knights, a lot of people are rating him as still, guys, don't get me wrong, he's still one of the best knights, right? Top 3, but they rate him like falling off compared to people are opting for FCC Carmen instead. And what do you think about that, Rikazo? You said you still pick him a lot?
I think he's still very strong, though I think FCC is still the best knight, at least for aggressive players like me, and I haven't actually built CRman yet. I'm considering building CRman, but I haven't really gotten around to it, so I don't know if I will, because I don't really like the unit. It's kind of too boring for me.
This,
but
yeah, actually it's kind of boring for sure.
Yeah, but I think Kraust is still very strong. He's more of an aggressive knight compared to something like CRman. I just value having horse quite a lot.
I feel that, and I think you don't have. The main reason I've heard he's falling off is because he just dies. But if people had your stat line, Rikazo, I think a lot less people would be dying on their Crows, right? Look at this Crow, boys. Rikazo, actually, in your opinion, what are your better geared units? Would you say? Is this one of them?
This is one of them for tanks.
This is
then
insane.
I would say Kaveric has my highest gear score overall, speed DPS gear.
Okay. Oh, so he has better gear than Cid for the speed DPS?
Not
pure speed though, right?
Yeah, pure speed DPS gear score wise, Kaveric has like several pieces close to 80 gear score, so he's like 440 plus gear score in general, I think. But yeah, Kaveric, Crow, a Ravi, Cid in terms of speed, and who else has? Yeah, Kisi has pretty good gear.
All right. We'll recap on those guys if y'all want to see them again at the very end. Otherwise, just wait for the VOD or the YouTube. But this Crow is so good, man. I love this stat line. It's so clean. All right. Yeah, they're saying the Straws was really good too. Okay.
Yeah.
Roz, actually, Rikazo, I've heard this one's coming back, but I think yours. Are we using him or is this more PvE?
Oh, this is just PvE right now. But I have considered rebuilding him for RTA. I haven't gotten around to it yet, but I do think he's pretty strong into a lot of the options like A Tywin, etc. So
he's coming back a little bit,
consider. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
It's pretty good.
Carrot. So actually, let's talk about her real fast. You mentioned the Senya T Crozet versus Cleave. What do you think about the Carrot T Crozet versus Cleave? I've been hearing that's a nice combo.
That works too. I just prefer Senya because, well, she has better gear compared to my Carrot. I haven't drafted my Carrot in a very long time, but she also works if you have her tanky enough. She can kind of just kill Cleave by just them hitting her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's this artifact about?
So the story behind the artifact is I don't have a third book at max, so I gave her whatever I had left, and this ended up being the artifact I had left. And hey, if it works against Cleave, it procs, you know, you can win the game.
I just don't think a lot of people have even looked at it. So this legit, it's you were using this when you were actually drafting Carrot?
A couple times, but
it was more testing.
Yeah, mostly testing.
Okay. Anyways, you said we're not using her as much, right? The gear still looks great. Why do you think you don't pick her as often as you used to?
I just think currently Mercedes and Charlotte are both stronger fire DPS than her, and she doesn't fit my draft too well, so I don't really pick her too much right now. But she is still pickable, I would say.
Yeah. And is 24 effectiveness intentional? For the same reason you were talking about, like on the Kisei? Just a few things.
Yeah,
like
basically, if you draft her into Maid, they have 20% ER and everything, right? So having just 24, you know, lets you proc.
Sounds good. All right, tea time.
Yeah, so I think I have some of the worst speed F gear on the server, at least compared to a lot of high
Well,
RTA players.
you know,
So this is
Rikazo,
just pretty copium gear.
I'll say that's probably justified because your other speed gear is crazy good. Well, I would just say your gear in general is very good. So somewhere, guys, he got a little unlucky. He said speed F gear, so effectiveness. All right.
Yeah.
But
So
just overall for tea time, yeah, talk to us just about her as a in
yeah,
terms of
so
your drafts.
I basically never draft her, but this is just whatever leftover speed F gear I have to make her somewhat pickable, right? If I know I'm
Yeah.
outspeeding and if I know F10 kind of like shuts down their whole team, I can pick her at least,
Okay.
even though she's not very good.
But realistically, how often would you say she's come up in the past? I don't know, X amount of games, 100 games or so.
Probably less than 1 out of 100.
Really?
I basically
Okay.
never pick her. Yeah.
But guys, look at this. I think a lot of players watching like this is their main tea time, but a lot of RT players, they just have, if they ever need to, right? They just have the unit ready to go. He said if his opponent drafts in a way where she'll just blow them out, at least he has gear on, but usually she'll get banned in that scenario, right, Rikazo?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, but he's got gear on it. Okay. Overall, though, you said she's not that good at the moment? Did I hear that right?
I
Or
do
did you
think
mean
she's
your
good for.
stats?
Yeah, I don't think my F10 is that good, but for players to have like a F10 close to like 300 speed or something, then
Yeah.
she can still be very competitive, I would say.
Okay.
Just not my type of unit, I would say.
Sounds good. T Crows it. So, Rikazo, you got to sell me personally on this one. You think, I thought as an aggressive player, you wouldn't pick her much, or him much, but versus Cleave, he's a main pick unit?
Yeah, so since Acid is my only really fast unit that can compete with Cleaver speed, if they ban Acid or if they like pre-ban or post-ban him, I basically just tank up my whole team with something like Senya behind T-Crowset, because
I
if
love
your
that idea.
Senya is tanky enough, with Bastion especially, you can kind of just have her solo the whole game. So
Yeah.
he's basically just made to sit there with Bastion and make my Senya tankier.
So we have
Or
the
whatever else I
Acid
have.
as the ban bait, and then the T Crowset Senya combo usually goes through, right? Have they ever
Yeah.
just banned like the Senya? And then what? Do you have another option in case that happens? Or usually in
It
that
has.
scenario, does your Acid take over?
Usually, yeah. Usually they tend to ban the Acid, but if the Acid is pre-ban, for example, then
right.
I will draft Senya plus another bulky DPS unit. Sometimes Mercedes, sometimes a Ravi as well, because
okay.
a Ravi is also pretty good in the cleave.
Yeah.
The only issue is mining some pen sets, so if they have like a flan, they can potentially defense break her and shut it down that way.
Got it.
Generally, yeah, another tanky DPS behind Senya, or together with Senya.
All right, I think I might be building that T Crowset soon, boys. This one looks. Is the stat line? We have like 88. Yeah, the stat line form. You don't think counter? You think just speed? This is good. This has been working out really well. 200 speed.
Yeah, potentially I could drop some ER for more speed, because ER doesn't tend to matter too much into cleave. So this is kind of just my leftover tank gear that I had left that I tossed on him, and it kind of works for his purpose. He doesn't need that great of a gear to do well into cleave. So
sounds good. I think you said you watched the Lunal review. I think he was saying he wanted to try like a 240. A lot of players are trying like the 240, similar to your Politis. It's just for cutting. Yeah, if it works at 200, better for me. Better for you guys watching. We can just make do on some backup gear. All right. Designer Lilibet, Rikazo. She's kind of in a weird spot.
yeah, so I wish this unit was better, because I kind of invested a lot into her when she first came out, but her gear has remained unchanged since then. I think a lot of her pieces are still quite solid, but
this is nice.
She's very hard to draft right now.
This is a super nice stat line. Yeah, so you talk to me about the difficulty of drafting. It's not just like, because usually people think if they have debuffs, we draft her, right? What's her issues?
So her main issue is she cleanses once, and then if you get silence or something on a Soul Weaver or something after that, then she can't really cleanse your team anymore. And also, sometimes they can abuse the fact that they can manipulate the amount of fighting spirit she gains, and they can sort of like proc her cleanse and then CC her after with something like a silence or a stun, and then they can just keep her CC'd for the rest of the game and not allow her to cleanse. So
how much
she's
do you
just
think,
a bit too finicky.
Yeah, how much do you think immunity would help with that, Rikazo, if you just swapped out the crit set for immunity set? Does that help a little bit, or that's overall she still has the same issues?
I think she still has the same issues. I could put her on immunity, but they still tend to have some form of strip, right? Like AOL or something.
Yeah.
So I don't think immunity matters too much in the situations you do draft her.
Got it.
It's just she's a bit too hard to play in this current meta.
So
I think she needs like a tweak or a buff or two.
Tweak or a slight buff. Okay, I agree with that. Maid Chloe. Shamadra staff, 209 speed, 224 ER. Oh, wow. Okay. Talk
Yeah.
to us, Rikazo. How's this Maid Chloe been doing?
So I actually shuffled her gear around quite recently, the other day. I just put her on very high ER because I tend to draft Emilia every game that I do draft a Soul Weaver, and usually the opponent will pick Maid, but when I do pick her, it's usually into something like AOL or something with a lot of F. So I went for the high FRS build, ends up at like 264, I think, with her passive and Shimadras.
Yep.
So I tend to just pick her into stuff like AOL and hope I resist, especially if I have like a FRS imprint release, right? So she can gain nearly 300 FRS that way.
I think
so
you definitely
she's sort
will.
of like my anti-debuff Soul Weaver, I would say.
And that's because, guys, a lot of y'all should not try this build because you use her as a main Soul Weaver. He says he likes Emilia overall, and this is purely for, anti,
we were doing a lowly
anti-debuffs or cleansing. Thank you, Heaven.
Yeah.
L_FA_chocolate just for sub for 3 months.
Is this Guild Wars or Expedition? What is this for? Looks like he's
This is just Expedition mainly, yeah.
the stat
just
line looks
blue
like he can
Expo.
be used for Guild War defense or something. It looks kind of nice. All right, he said Expo boys. Kitty Chloe.
Yeah, his gear is pretty good still, I would say, but yeah, it's just PvE.
Okay, got it. This is also PvE.
Kitty I actually do use in RTA sometimes.
Really? Is it because like Angie and all these debuffs flying around nowadays?
Exactly. She was one of the measures I tested against AOL, and she actually has worked some games. It's just she's a bit slow. She kind of slows down your draft. She's very hard to play when you have an aggressive draft.
Interesting.
Which is good to get it with something like an Ravi if that's your main DPS, because she can kind of just spam S1s over and over. And she with this kind of FRS, she mostly resists AOL and other debuffers, so she kind of works.
Yeah, on Strack we're at like 270 before any other imprints or Shimadras we might have. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Looks crazy. All right. That's something important though, because he is slowing down in drafts. Remember, guys, I was saying something similar with haste, right? A lot of y'all might be picking haste, but if you naturally play more aggressive, just be aware when you pick counter units like this. So Rikazo's using this versus AOL. If you pick haste versus like RBs or maids, right? Just be aware that you're sacrificing another unit there, and you may not have damage to finish the match. Anyways, FCC, this is your main knight, right, Rikazo?
Yeah, this is basically what I first pick every game that I am first pick. I will pick her.
And you're still on. A lot of people have shifted away from like. You're not full bruiser because we just went for the crit mostly, a tiny bit of crit damage, but you like having damage on her?
I actually like having damage, especially for the S3, because a lot of times, especially for like a Landy or a Maid, if they get revived by a Landy or a Stene, excuse me, if they get revived by something like a Maid, this is sometimes enough damage to kill them with S3, right, behind like stealth. So I like having a bit of damage just for that extra reach when I want like AoE damage, especially.
Yeah, these crit chance next, dude. I've kind of been keeping track. Chat, is a lot of your units on crit chance next, Rikazo? I think I've seen quite a few, right?
Yeah, I didn't used to have a lot of crit chance next, but recently I have been swapping a lot of units to crit chance next, so I have quite a few, I would say, on crit chance by now.
Got it. All right. Well, it looks very good. And the main thing you said was versus like Maid Chloe's to get that finish, having a little bit of damage on her.
Yeah, just having a bit more AoE damage when I'm trying to reach stuff like Stene or Landy.
Yeah,
and
makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's still quite bulky and fast at this speed, so
the stat line looks very good. All right, Ruel. Rikazo, do you draft her at all?
Not right now, but I have considered drafting her more with this current Belian trend, because I think a lot of units tend to focus Belian early on, and I have considered trying out some Ruel just to sort of protect the Belian and stop them from, like, because with Belian you kind of slow down the game naturally, right? Because you gain souls while they don't, so Ruel kind of fits a slower draft as well, so I have considered trying her out a bit with Belian. I just haven't been picking her recently at all.
Yeah, this stat line is pretty crazy. I almost want to just skip. Rikazo, do you mind if we just talk about Belian right now then? Since I keep saying I like all our units kind of keep our oh my god, it's injury.
Sure. It is injury.
So this is a unit I thought you would not be interested in. Same with Ruel, but you've been liking her, right?
Yeah, I think she's a lot of fun, and I actually finished this injury set yesterday. I still want to tweak the stats a bit, but this is kind of the stat line I came up with for now. So I'm not sure if I want the 50F or not, or if I want to swap to 0F.
Interesting.
but I'm testing this for now.
Okay.
And it worked pretty well in the matches that I did test her.
Yeah, so just, I guess let's lead with the injury set. Is this, you think that's her best in slot?
Not necessarily. I still need to test it more to find out how I feel about it, but I think she is the only unit that can use injury reliably, just because she spams so much AoE, like more than any other unit, and she applies injury on every hit, and you can also use Elbrus if you want to apply even more hits.
Right, I was going to bring that up. I feel like with injury, we'd want to maximize the Elbrus, but you opted for Adam. Is this are we testing, or do you find she's dying too much? What's happening here with the no Elbrus?
It's mostly just testing, but also Elbrus makes her insanely weak to something like Rana, and also weaker to SSB in a sense, so I just like having a lot of mitigation from Adamant, because I always draft her with Aries as well, so you'll always have Aries Adamant, which makes the team very tanky, especially in a long game, right?
And then you might even add Ruel on top of that, and with injury set, I would say, right, that's when we can make her a true, like, carry?
Yeah, in a sense. That's when you kind of like guarantee you win the long game if you have enough mitigation and injury and sustain. But I'm still kind of in the process of testing her, so... But I think overall this works pretty well.
Yeah. Okay, so past the injury, just overall, what do you think about Belian?
I think she's very strong, but I need to play more to find out if she's worth picking really early into a draft. I have been picking her like second or third pick. Yeah, and she gets answered by stuff like SSB, RAM, sometimes Rana, so she has a lot of like hard counters, or like soft counters at least in a sense, but I think sometimes she's powerful enough to win despite them having soft counters.
I've been hearing that too. And then, okay. So, even Rikazo, guys, who plays like more aggressive, he's liking her a lot. This is the stat line he's choosing. He's still in the testing process. Most likely, she'll probably end up a later pick. And then, I feel like you're going to like the injury, though. And then he said he might drop effectiveness. But even, I don't know, so because of the thought process behind the effectiveness, is it when we get this buff on top of having 50, we can start stripping like most things? Or what was the thought process behind 50% F?
Yeah, exactly. So especially late into Frenzy, if I get the F proc, I'll be over 100 F, and then I can reach things like Emilia, Crow, etc. Maybe even some maids, depends on how much ER they have. But I think having some F for that type of situation is nice. So that's kind of my thought process behind it.
All right. Well, I'm glad to hear it, guys. And I've been saying she's amazing too. Even Rikazo, who plays like super aggressive, is enjoying Belian and actually like just think she's good, right? No copium, just a great unit.
Yeah, just a very strong unit overall, I would say.
Love it. Okay, so we were at Ruel. LQC.
Yeah, so funnily enough, I actually finished my LQC earlier. Well, I rebuilt her. She wasn't speed set, but earlier today I kind of changed to this build. Because I made her ring today from the crafting event. And I kind of swapped her to the
This is the crafting event ring?
Crits. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wow.
Ended up pretty well.
Rikazo, talk to us about the pen immunity crit. I've been hearing about that a lot lately from higher end players. You think this is a new trend that who's it fit for? Is it LQC? Are some people trying this on like Ravi? Rylet? Who else? I've seen this 3-piece set, guys. Here it is right here. Immunity crit pen and Celine. Yeah, talk to us about the idea behind it.
Yeah, so I haven't seen too many other units run this combination, but I think on LKC it's very strong because you don't care too much about speed in her, since she gets free CR anyway, and her main purpose is just to one-shot something like a FCC or a T-Crosset or a tanky Ravi, and this combination of gear just gives you sort of the maximum amount of damage for the purpose you draft her for, basically, while retaining a lot of bulk. So
I like it.
I think it fits her pretty well.
Okay. And do we draft her when we see FCCs and Apocalypse Ravis? Is that when we bring her out?
Yeah, basically. Against APOC, A-Ravi, sometimes T-Crosset, yeah, etc. Just tanky dark units in general.
And then this damage, so 4k attack about with Hellcutter and then pen set, do we need attack? Do we need to bring anything with her? Attack up, soul burn, or is this kind of good as is?
I haven't tested her too much with this build because I finished it
oh, that's right. You just swapped from speed set, yeah.
Yeah, but I think attack buff in general, and she should kill basically anything with these kind of stats, I think.
Okay. Sounds good. Lilias, another one I think is kind of coming back a bit, and since you play Senya a lot, but actually, Rikazo, from the way you sound like you use Senya, you don't really need Lilias with her, right?
Not really. Last season I actually played a lot of Senya Lilias, but this season I have been testing her a bit recently, but she's pretty hard to draft right now. Funnily enough, I actually gave her ring to Belian, and that's why her crit chance is kind of questionable right now.
Yeah.
But I once I get a new ring for her, I think her stat line is pretty good overall. She's just missing some crit chance.
Seems very good. Okay. So what makes her hard to draft?
So her main issue is she takes up a slot and she doesn't bring sustain and she doesn't bring enough damage by herself. She needs someone to get her with her sort of to bring damage.
Yeah.
And you kind of need to guarantee you get another DPS to get her through the draft to get her with her that doesn't like just die, because if the other DPS dies, she tends to like not do much by herself.
Right.
So it's just kind of hard in this current meta when there's so much damage and the matches are pretty brief for the most part to get her through, but some matches it can work.
Makes sense. Do you ever draft her with the... I've been hearing a lot of Lilias plus a Ravi versus AOL Angie's.
Yeah, I've actually been testing that a bit. It's pretty hard when they draft Stene with the AOL because sometimes you can't really reach the Stene in time, but other times it can work. It has worked for me a few games. I think it's a pretty strong option.
So draft more Stene. All right, I got it. When they try to pull that on me, Rikazo, because I'm an AOL abuser, I'll pick Stenes more often. Got it.
Yeah,
That's good though.
Exactly.
All right. So Dizzy, did she see any play?
No, haven't used this unit in forever.
Yeah. How about Arby? DJ and Arby.
Yeah, I haven't drafted him in a very long time either because I think there's better anti-cleave options now, like Senya, etc.
His main purpose was though anti-cleave back when you used to use him.
Yeah, I can pick him occasionally. He's not super tanky, but his damage is pretty high. He's also pretty hard to draft into AOL because AOL sort of just puts up skill null and negates his like whole thing, right?
Yes.
So
yeah,
it's pretty hard to pick him into currently in this meta, I would say. But he's pickable in this state, at least, I would say.
All right. Oh man, look at this, guys. Christy. Rikazo, tell us about. Are we actually picking her?
So I used to pick her more. Currently, not too much. I actually nerfed her gear because I gave it to, I think it was Maid, some of her pieces.
Yeah,
but
it seems like you might have given it to Maid.
She used to be a bit more FRS, around 260, but currently she still gives 110 FRS to the backline, and that kind of guarantees that my backline Soulweaver will never get hit by something like AOL or F10, etc.
Okay.
And she's still pickable. Her main purpose is just to give FRS plus adamant and sort of like make your team bulky and make your Soulweaver able to resist anything.
So versus those cleaves that kind of have some debuffs as well, is that one we're looking at her?
Yeah, basically into like very debuff heavy comps with like F10, AOL, etc. That's kind of when I tend to pick her.
Okay. The Chris.
Another thing about her though.
Yeah, they want me to build her now, Rikazo, but I think from what I'm watching, I think T Crozet is probably a better. What do you think about those two knights? If you had to pick T Crozet or a Christie for your comps, I know they're kind of different. One's like more ER, but I feel like I like your T Crozet play if I had to pick a knight to just implement.
Probably T Crozet. The thing about Christie is she makes your draft very slow because she's a very slow unit and she sort of has to get through the draft with a Soulweaver and another debuff counter. So you're naturally playing a very slow comp, which is something that I don't really favor too much.
Same, dude. Yeah, slow players. Yeah. Listen, y'all can do that. Me and Rikazo over here, though, it's a little too slow, a little too boring for us, right, guys? All right. Rem. Wait. Yeah, we talked about that.
This is just my Wyvern one-shot Rem. But when I do draft her, she's usually on lifesteal sets, but I don't pick her very often at all.
Really?
I don't really like drafting her too much.
But you just swap gear, right? Just like you did with the, who else were we talking about? SSB.
SSB.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I would just swap this gear set.
So you just don't pick her because you don't like her style, or is it like it's a personal thing, or is it just you have better anti-cleave options?
She just doesn't fit my draft too much, and I'm not a huge fan of RNG when it comes to her counters. But that's also No, go ahead. That's why I run her on like a lifesteal set instead of counter. Like a lot of people opt for the base speed counter, right? But when I pick her, I do like the lifesteal with like decent speed to sort of play more aggressively, and it fits my style a bit better.
Oh, okay. Dang, so the lifesteal set, boys. All right, Amelia, here's one he drafts a lot. He said. Okay, 250 speed, good bulk, and we're opting for tome. Talk to us about the tome over just, I think a lot of players, there's a lot of different artifacts we can run, right? Rikazo, tome, rod, people are even running her own artifact. What's your take on the selection?
So I think Tome fits the aggressive playstyle very well because she cycles very quickly. However, I have recently been testing Warhorn as well, and I like Warhorn there actually.
Really?
It's just that, yeah. Currently, I use Warhorn on Raz for my Wyvern one-shot, but I have been using Warhorn on her for RTA past few matches. The thing is, it provides cycling as well as an attack boost, right, for your DPS units. So it's similar to Tome in a sense, just you're trading some CR for a bit of attack, I would say.
Sure. Very nice style line. I've only seen a few Amelias a little faster with some defense and all, but very good. You know, you're most pick Soul Weaver, right?
Yeah, for sure. I pick her almost every game I can,
Yeah,
I would
she's
say.
so good. All right. Kawazu. Tell me he sees some play, Rikazo.
Very rarely, but he does see play once in a while. Against like cleavers that have like an opener like Cerise or Mui or something, where he can actually cut and take a turn. That's when I draft him usually.
Okay.
That's why I have him on pretty high speed, right? So he can cut ahead of stuff like CDOM or anything else.
Right. All right. So fast or cleavers that actually can proc him and give him a good cut in. All right. Violet.
Yeah, so my Violet is a work in progress. I still need to reforge his helmet, as you can see.
You mentioned he just got gear recently, right?
Yeah. So his helmet, I think is pretty solid. I just need to reforge it, and then he's like at 85 crit at least. So
yeah,
he's pretty slow, but I have
4200 attack though, man, at 265 crit damage with pen set. This might be one of the hardest hitting Violets I've seen.
Yeah, so I opted for the slow build. I do have a speed build as well with speed boots, but I'm testing this right now. I just haven't gotten a chance to play him too much yet, but I think this slow build is pretty good in the situations I do draft him, which is usually against blue units like SSB and
exactly. So unlike a speed build, we would just make sure he goes against units where he's gonna be, you know, like ice units where his main damage will be coming from counters, right? So we get extra stats. All right, yeah, it looks really. This thing is gonna hit so hard, guys. And then the skill 3 when it pops off, nothing's living. All right, he said he just needs to reforge this for 85 crit, and then he's still kind of testing, but I think it's gonna work really well. My Senya, not is this PVE? Unity, damn.
Yeah, just PvE.
Oh wait, it's not two piece. Doris, does she see any play at all? I think a lot of people are dropping her, Rikazo.
Yeah, I don't draft her, but I used to draft her a couple seasons ago. I think she was pretty strong, but currently she's a bit too slow.
Do you think Amelia's just better overall? Like anytime you would want to pick
Amelia, Maid, and even Rel, I think, are just
their
premium sleevers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here we go. Fire Charlotte. This is one like everybody, no matter what kind of player you are, I feel like has a Fire Charlotte, and this one looks very solid, very good. What do you think, Rikazo? Just overall as a unit.
Yeah, I think she's super strong right now, and I actually built her very recently too. I finished her gear like last week, I think. And I think overall I'm pretty happy with these stats. A bit low on the bulk, could be a bit higher, but I think the damage is very high.
Yeah, and your speed is good. I think like just for an ideal stat line, depending on if you were a player that didn't know where to go, guys, I think this is like something that hits everything and high stats on everything. Rikazo was saying he would want a little more bulk, but in yeah, I could see that. But I think at his speed and damage, it's really, really good still. So yeah, just overall, Rikazo, nothing really to talk about, right? Just amazing unit at the moment.
Yeah,
one of the
it's
best
very
fire
strong.
units.
Just a tanky damage dealer that does AoE on every turn, and she kind of just solo carries games by herself.
Exactly. All right, Tama PVE. I'm assuming Elena. Do we see any Elena play?
Not currently, no. She's sort of just on leftover. I don't draft her at all currently.
What do you think about her real fast, just as a top RTA player?
I think she is pickable in some scenarios, but usually with the Doctor's Bag buff, she's pretty good into units like Bastar, but currently not a lot of people draft Bastar.
Right.
And I think she's a bit too slow of a counter for Basar. I prefer something like HU Fiend that can kind of like push your team ahead rather than sitting behind Elena's invincibility.
Yeah.
So I don't draft her currently, but she is still usable for some players, I would say.
Got it. Okay. Champ Z. Do we even need to talk about this, Rikazo? I feel like every counter review I've done with Legend players, it's a Champ Z. If he ever comes through, your opponent messed up, and then he's gonna get banned, right?
Pretty much, yeah. It's just leftover gear.
Okay. I mean, for leftover gear, guys, it's still pretty good, I would say. All right. But just how often do you think he gets through a draft, in your opinion?
I think if they let him through a draft where you pick him, they probably lost, right? So usually never.
Okay, that's guys, that's the point. It's kind of like the Cid, but even more to the extremes. Have some gear on him just in case a lot of y'all will be using for PvE, but if you have Just as long as your opponent, you know, you gotta punish them if they let him through. But if he's on any gear and he's living, Rikazo has a 30 proof. Like you're probably winning it, right, Rikazo? It's just not much else to talk about. Okay.
Pretty much.
Heavy debuff. Rowana, we were talking about her and very good versus Belian. Yeah, any quick thoughts on the Rowana real fast?
She's just on leftovers. I use her to farm Katie's right now, and for Expo as well, I think. But I have considered building her up a bit nicer for RTA just because of Belian, right? She's pretty good into Belian, I would say. So I might consider giving her a bit better gear.
Yeah, on this build, do you draft her at all? Does she come through?
No, I haven't drafted her at all. This is just for Katie's mostly. But if I do want to draft her, I'll probably improve her build a bit for RTA.
I think I was talking to a few other players, and they're saying she can almost work on anything, but you'd be more comfortable if you gave her better gear, right?
Yeah, she doesn't need very good gear to work, but probably slightly better than this, and she'll be fine.
Sounds good. Katie's, is this Guild Wars mostly, or do we draft her in RTA?
This is just for Labyrinth and
Labyrinth.
Guild Wars. Yeah, I've used the same Labyrinth team for like 2 years almost, and Katie's is part of it, so she's remained in this gear for quite a while.
All right, sounds good. Flan, does she see any? You said you're not really full-on cleaver, so does she get drafted at all?
No, this is just a gear holder. I don't pick Flan at all.
Got it.
I don't really have the speed to build a nice Flan.
Yeah,
so
you mentioned
really
it. Okay. Syngelica, is this Wyvern one shot? I'm assuming, or no?
Yeah,
wait.
exactly. It's just Wyvern.
Oh, okay. Flitica, probably nothing to talk about there, right? Just stop me, because if I'm skipping over someone that sees play. Destina, no, it doesn't look like. T-Surin? Oh no, she's missing a neck.
Yeah, I don't pick her. I don't really have the DPS gear left over to build her, but maybe I will consider rebuilding.
Sure, real fast. What do you think about her currently in the meta?
I think some players have started using the Celine artifact on her against Cleave, especially because you can sort of cut ahead and just wipe your team out, and I think that can be pretty strong. Other than that, I don't think she's too great, but I think that's her main use.
The CR push, the newly buffed one that gives CR push, right? That's what you're talking about? The
yeah.
That also
the Sword Storm or whatever it's called.
Sword of Art.
One. Yeah.
Okay. Silk, Broman, Axe God, Ken? No, we're not using Ken either. I think we're at the end, Rikazo. Is there anyone else you know down here that might be General Purgus, possibly?
No, I don't pick him either. I think that's roughly it. I don't think anything else is really geared or picked in RT
maybe.
Right now.
General Purgus, though, Rikazo, what do you think about him just still being used? I think players still pick him a lot, right?
I do think some people pick him, and I think especially against Belian, he's pretty strong. But I currently don't pick him at all. But maybe I'll consider rebuilding him. But currently, I don't use him.
Okay.
But I think he's pretty solid, at least in this meta.
All right, Rikazo, let's go look at your journal, and then we'll take a quick look at his World Arena drafts. Chad, get your questions ready at the end. We'll have a moment to ask him whatever y'all want. But because I was gonna ask, most needed ML5 buffs. We talked about Lilibet. Who else do you think? Smilegate, you said it pretty well. Slight tweak, slight buffs here and there. What ML5s do you think need to be looked at?
Probably Solitaria. I think I pulled for Solitaria when she came out, and I tried to make her work, but she's just a bit too hard to use. She doesn't do enough, I feel like. Solitaria, and who else is there? Mediator Carrick, I guess, but he has some use at least. I think the Guild War artifact made him usable as a cleanser.
Oh, okay.
And other than that,
what do you think about Judge Kisei right now?
Oh yeah, her too, I guess.
Her too?
Yeah, I think especially with Belian, if you have Belian on arena defense, you can't even use Judge Kisei against her, right? Because you can't soul burn.
We always mention guys like. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you. Go ahead, Rikazo.
No worries. I was just gonna say, I think her only use, which was like arena offense, kind of fell off with the release of Belian, so she's in a very bad spot right now.
That's very important to note, guys. Maybe that will push them to buffer sooner than later. Anyways, so you said earlier we don't have the AOL. Rikazo, out of these units, Haste is one my guys always ask about. Which units would you say from this list you want the most, and just from your journal, I guess? What do you think about missing collection? Just overall as RTAs, are some of these like you would love to have? You think they would skyrocket your win rate, things like that?
I would say definitely BM Haste, Charles, and probably Rylets.
And Rylets.
Maybe LRK as well. LRK is solid right now. I think.
I agree. So these 4 MLs. Do we have any coins for this guy, Rikazo?
No, I have 20 coins. Unfortunately, not enough.
Okay. Well, you're not missing too much, I would say, but yeah, Closer Charles is one I think a lot of people Did you regret not pulling for him, or you didn't have mystics anyways?
I did pull for him a bit. I just didn't pity him. I wasn't sure if I wanted to pity him or not, so I saved my pity for Belian instead. And,
Okay. Do you regret
I
that
do
at
think
all, or
Belian
nah?
is very strong. Nah, because I think Belian is very strong,
Yeah.
and Charles is a good unit, especially for my type of playstyle, I think, but he's not like necessary. You can kind of work without him. But I think Belian is very unique in what she provides. So yeah.
BM Haste, Rylet, and Closer Charles. Okay, maybe LRK. What do we think?
Yeah.
So AWL Angie, we talked about her a lot. Whenever we talk about drafts and like this is the reason a unit fell off. She struggles versus AWL Angie. We got to worry about AWL Angie. Obviously, she's really good, right? Did you try to pull for her? I think I talked with you about this a little bit.
I did a few multis for her, but I really didn't want to break my pity on Spess, so I chose not to pull too much. Yeah.
But obviously,
she's definitely very strong.
Do you think you'd be using her if you had her?
Probably, but not too much, because even though she's so oppressive and can kind of shut down a whole game by herself, she's still somewhat RNG, right? If you don't land the silence on like their cleanser, you kind of just lose the game from the get-go sometimes. So while she's super oppressive and very strong, I think she's also a bit too RNG for my tastes.
Makes sense. Okay. And I guess last but not least, Rikazo, I just want to take a quick look at maybe some of your matches. We talked a lot about drafts and stuff like that. Yeah, so I think are most of your recent games just been mostly testing?
Yeah, this is basically just me testing injury Belian mostly, and some draft options here and there.
Crown Maid LQC. And hey, we did, guys, remember we talked about Celine earlier? He said it's not like the most optimal pick, but the build he's on, he's been liking it, and he says it's still pretty damn good. So yeah, damn, Belian soloed this, huh? Or I guess we had the LQC to back up, but yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, it was mostly a Belian solo. I think LQC got silence and
here
died
too
before she could S3, but yeah.
Belian, and then damn, we're getting a lot of wins with this injury Belian build, and then another Celine. It seems like Celine comes up quite a bit too.
Yeah, I actually drafted her to test her in these kind of games against Emilia and AOL especially.
And guys, he did say he really likes his crowd. Of course, I don't think anyone that had Rikazo's stat line on a crowd wouldn't like him. But oh wait, Rikazo, you're actually banning FCC. Is that target bans for players you may know, or is that kind of just your go-to lately?
So recently, when they have first pick, I will pre-ban FCC because I don't really like playing into FCC too much. So if I suspect that they're gonna pick FCC first pick, then I will pre-ban her. It's something I'm testing right now.
Okay.
But I kind of tend to switch up my pre-ban quite a bit, so I'm always experimenting.
Yeah. Very nice, man. All right, Chad, y'all got any questions? Rikazo, is there anything if they have any questions for you? But overall, man, how are you liking the season? Epic 7, is there anything you want to bring up? Thoughts on just anything at all?
I think the season's a lot of fun, more flexible than last season, I would say, and especially when we had like a heavy tank meta. There's a lot of things you can play this season, and you can sort of like play these for fun units like Celine, Mercedes to an extent, and you can kind of just experiment a lot and test different builds and different drafts, and it's pretty flexible and fun overall, I would say.
Yeah. Do you plan, they're asking, do you plan to hold on to Legend this season?
Yeah, so actually I haven't finished Legend yet because I didn't play the first 2 seasons, and last 2 seasons I was one game away.
I feel like you
I haven't actually.
Okay.
But I think this season I should be able to.
I'm gonna be honest, chat, back me up here, right? If he's messing around, testing stuff, still like running a carry Belian, he's got 62% win rate against some of the best players on here. You're gonna lock that in easy. As long as you get the games in and you can play that last day, Rikazo, no questions. Probably in your sleep, he's gonna get this frame, dude.
Yeah, I should be able to.
Yeah, sure. They want to see the what do you call it, Belian one more time. This will be up on YouTube, guys, and you guys will check the VOD right after the stream ends. But here you go. He's currently testing it. The only thing he might drop right now is the effectiveness, but I think, right, Rikazo, we're liking the injury so far.
Yeah, I might test. I'm actually considering testing Revenge Set on her. Because,
really?
I think with her getting focused, Revenge can have a lot of value, but
Rikazo,
I think injury is also very good.
Let's say we didn't have injury. Do you think speed or counter is, what would you pick if you didn't have injury?
Probably speed. I think counter also kind of. It's
actually
not great against.
Yeah, and you're not the biggest fan of counter. Overall, from your counter review plus what you said about Rem, you just don't like that RNG part of it, right?
Basically, yeah. And it's also, it makes it weaker to stuff like Rana, SSB, etc. So I
True.
just prefer having
That's the same
more
reason you're not running
reliability.
the Elbrus. Okay,
Yeah,
so you said you
that's
do
it.
speed.
Yep.
Yes, he drops. He is. By the way, Rikazo, if you don't mind, I'm gonna do the shout out for you. But if you could do me a favor in my community, what time? YouTube, pay attention. Well, it'll all be in the comment section below or the description. Rikazo, what time? When can people find you and catch you? Because I think after this review, a lot of people will be wanting to check out, ask some questions, stop by.
Sure. So you can find me at twitch.tv/osakure. Usually I start streaming a few hours earlier than the current time, so around 7 to 9 or 10 p.m. European time. I'm from Europe, so
That's
a few hours earlier than here.
Yes. Starting at 7, that would be like noon, guys, I think. Noon Central-ish. 11 a.m., 12 a.m., or 12 p.m. Does that sound right,
possibly
Rikazo?
a bit later. Yeah,
Okay.
sounds good.
Early
I
afternoon.
don't really have I don't have a set schedule, but around there is usually when I start.
Make sure y'all stop by, guys. Check him out. Those of you here, YouTube, one of the best, and he has some of the best music too. If y'all like my music, right, Rikazo? We were a big fan of anime, big fan of just video games. We talked a lot. I talked with him a lot on one of my 24-hour streams, and he's a really cool guy. You want to get to know him. Not only is he an amazing legend RTA player, just super down to earth, plays a lot of other stuff too, and yeah, very chill.
Yeah.
Actually, Rikazo, where'd you get the name from? And also, Ozakir. Was Rikazo taken on Twitch?
So Rikazo, I think I came up with it when I was like 13. I needed a name, and it's basically what I stuck with since then. I don't remember the origin, if I saw it somewhere, if I just typed random letters and thought they looked cool. But
It sounds
basically,
cool.
I just stuck with it since then. And Osakir, I think Rikazo was one day taken on some game, and since I'm super creative, I just typed my name backwards, and it became Osakir.
Yeah, very
And
creative.
that's sort of been my alt name since then.
Okay. We got a few questions and we'll wrap things up. What cases is Senya a really good pick? We kind of talked about that, guys. Make sure y'all check out the VOD or the YouTube. But he said primarily anti-cleave right now, right?
Yeah, primarily anti-cleave and sometimes against if they have both Rem SSB or Rem Violet, she can be a pretty good pick into those type of units.
Yeah, so Rem Violet's dodge stuff he said was good, and obviously ice units. Have you seen the Tenebria figurine, they're asking?
I have not. You can go ahead and show me.
Chat, show us. Red says show the guns clips. Yeah, dude. Guns God, boys. Also, you played some competitive Overwatch, right?
I did for a bit,
He's a gamer, boys, not just E7. Is Senya's artifact must-have? Rikazo, what do you think?
Not a must-have, but it is, I think, by far her best artifact, at least from what I've tested. Because it's a ton of damage on those S1 procs. It almost doubles her S1 damage for the proc.
Does your opinion change at all, Rikazo, if it's like at 24 or 27? Basically, if it's not at max, what about at 15? Do we opt for something else at that point?
I think at 15 is very hard to use. I actually ended up bottling this thing once and then buying another copy because I had it like plus 21, and when it doesn't proc, it feels really bad.
Yeah, so even at 21, you weren't liking it enough?
Yeah, so I think 24 maybe, 27 you can probably use it.
Yeah.
But having a 30 is very nice.
Not a must-have, guys, but he thinks it's probably her best in slot, yeah. First pick for an aggro player if you don't own FCC or AOL, Rikazo.
Depends how aggro you are. For me, I would still first pick Kraust in that situation. Because I like having a tank, right? That's sort of my go-to. Because I will never speed race a cleaver or anything. So I like just having a very strong knight as a first pick, so I can sort of flex my draft around that.
Yeah, and you still, I haven't heard this too often, but he does consider Kraust an offensive unit because of the horse. I can agree with that, yeah. What is that? Is that the, we'll check out the picture right after the review, guys. Anything else? I think they're good, though. It's Senya, counter set stuff. All right. Thoughts on Mort real fast? Rikazo?
Oh, the only thing I've seen of the new Mort is Elf Mage plays him on the first day after he got buffed, but I don't know how well it performed. I assume since he doesn't play him anymore, from what I've seen, he didn't perform too well. So
guys, don't worry, Rikazo got you. Guys, this is what Rikazo thinks of Mort. Okay, here, right here, dude.
Yeah, that's my Mort impression. Yeah.
Yeah, and here's the quirk, one of his best units. All right, Rikazo. Well, last call on anything. They'll check you out. Wait, was it Monday to Sunday, or what was the days? We talked about the time. What days do you normally stream?
I don't have a schedule actually, but I'll try and stream whatever day I can. So it can be anything from Monday to Sunday, just around that time, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just give him a follow, guys. That way you know when he goes live. Oh man, here's the quirk. Yeah, it's right here, boys. Look at that. Crazy.
Sadly, the CP update actually nerfed his CP a bit, but
What was he
his stats
before, man?
remain the
220?
same. 220, and then if I put him on symbol, he's like 230 plus.
Jesus, dude.
I'm missing some imprints still, but overall his gear is my highest quality DPS gear.
That is for 273 speed, guys, and 4350 attack. That's absolutely crazy. All right, well, Rikazo, let's hang out for a little bit longer. That way we can catch up with Twitch chat. But yeah, YouTube, thanks for watching. Make sure y'all check out Rikazo. Brother, always a pleasure. You have one of the most stacked accounts, and I think, yeah, eyes closed, dude. You just randomly pick stuff, you're gonna get that legend top 100. No questions asked. Wait, we're not shooting for Hall of Fame, are we?
Probably not. We'll see what happens.
Maybe in the future. All right. Well, Rikazo, thank you for joining me. YouTube, enjoy. Twitch chat, stick around. Yeah, we'll hang out a little bit longer. All right, much love, guys. Bye, YouTube.